and XChat, X's standalone messaging app, launched to the public on Friday. Initially available on iOS devices, the new app allows users to connect with their X contacts for messaging, file sharing, audio and video calls, as well as group chats. The company first began publicly testing XChat with a small group of beta users earlier this year to get their feedback about the new experience.
That. Comfu, a startup that helps creators control image, video and audio outputs from diffusion models with a node-based workflow, has raised a $30 million funding round at a $500 million valuation. The round was led by Craft Ventures, with participation from other investors, including Pace Capital, Chemistry and True.
And Israel finds itself engaged in two semi-frozen conflicts in Lebanon and Iran. But the outcome of these battles will likely be determined not by Israel's own political leaders, but by the United States and President Donald Trump. And Israeli analysts have told Al Jazeera, with US envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner headed to Pakistan for another round of talks with Iran, Israel is not included. And Trump announced on Thursday a 3-week extension to the ceasefire in Lebanon. Israel has, of course, and repeatedly violated that ceasefire, but analysts highlight that Trump continues to have more influence over events than his partners in Israel. And recent deadly Israeli attacks on Lebanon and Hezbollah rocket fire into Israel may amount to serious violations of international humanitarian law, the United Nations Human Rights Office, OHCHR, says. And the findings come from a UN report released on Friday, focusing on the first 3 weeks of the latest escalation between Israel and Hezbollah, which began on March 2. And Hezbollah fighters launched rockets at Israel in response to the US-Israeli attacks on Iran, prompting a large-scale military offensive from Israel.
That. A UK bill to legalise assisted dying in England and Wales will not become law after efforts by unelected lawmakers to stall its passage through Parliament. Time ran out for the terminally ill adults. End of life bill on Friday after hitting a parliamentary quagmire of more than wafting 200 bill amendments tabled by appointed lawmakers in the House of Lords.
And United States President Donald Trump granted a 90-day extension to a shipping waiver that makes it easier to move oil, fuel and fertilizer around the US, the White House has said, and the latest effort to curb rising energy costs linked to the war with Iran. Friday's move, even though its impact on lowering prices is questionable, and reflects a broader push by the White House to dampen politically sensitive fuel price spikes before November's midterm elections, where affordability is expected to be a defining issue for voters. And the Islamabad Traffic Police has issued a comprehensive traffic advisory announcing widespread road closures and alternate routes ahead of expected diplomatic activity related to the US-Iran talks in the capital. According to the traffic plan, the red zone and extended red zone will remain completely closed for all types of traffic.
That. The federal government on Friday approved a big increase in diesel and petrol prices for the next 7 days. The Prime Minister has sanctioned an increase of 26.7 cents per litre in the price of diesel and 26.77 per litre for petrol. Following the approval, the price of diesel will now be 380.99 per litre and petrol is 393.35 per litre.
And the government raised the prices of petrol and high-speed diesel HSD by 20.77. Friday increased. The price of petrol now stands at Rs 393 and that of HSD at 380.99.
That. Amal Khalil was killed while reporting on an Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon during a 10-day ceasefire. She is the 9th journalist killed in Lebanon this year. As Lebanon buries her and talks continue on extending the ceasefire, what does her death say about the prospects for accountability? In this episode...
And the administration of United States President Donald Trump has announced plans to expand the use of the federal death penalty, including through the deployment of firing squads. The announcement on Friday was part of a policy document issued by the Department of Justice, setting out the legal argument for various methods of execution.
That. A court in Kosovo has convicted 3 ethnic Serbs on terrorism charges over their role in a deadly secession attempt near the country's northern border in 2023. The basic court in Pristina sentenced Blagoje Spasojevic and Vladimir Tolik to life in prison and Dusan Maksimovic to a 30-year jail term on Friday over the attack in the village of Banjka, which led to a clash with police that left 1 police officer and 3 of the gunmen. Google plans to invest up to $40 billion in Anthropic and support the AI firm's growing computing needs, Bloomberg reports. The Alphabet subsidiary is committing to invest $10 billion now at a $350 billion valuation for Anthropic. That, with another $30 billion to follow if Anthropic hits certain performance targets, according to Anthropic. The promise of investment comes after Anthropic released its latest model, Mythos, to a limited group of partners this month. That Anthropic says that Mythos is the company's most powerful model to date and has significant cybersecurity applications due to potential misuse. That Anthropic has restricted broader access while it works with select organizations to evaluate and address those risks, though the model has already fallen into unsanctioned hands. It's also likely expensive to run at scale. That the National Database and Registration Authority has launched a revamped official website aimed at transforming how citizens access identity services, data and support. The new platform is designed as a fully integrated digital system, offering easier access to key services such as CNIC, NICOP, POC, FRC, CRC and other certification processes for both local and overseas Pakistan. That Microsoft has reaffirmed its focus on improving Windows 11 quality and said future development of the operating system will be shaped by consumer feedback, especially input from Windows insiders. The company said it has brought together product experts and engineers who are focused on improving the Windows experience. That Infinix has introduced the GT50 Pro as the next model in its GT lineup following the GT30 Pro. That the company is positioning the phone as a gaming-first device and the center of a broader GT ecosystem with gaming accessories. The Infinix GT50 Pro features a 6.78-inch AMOLED display with a 5K resolution of 1208 by 2644 pixels. The screen supports a 144 Hz refresh rate, 330 Hz touch sampling rate, and up to 2800 Hz instant touch sampling. Peak brightness reaches 4,500 nits, that while Gorilla Glass 7i protects the panel.
And Islamabad. Maritime Affairs Minister Junaid Anwar Chaudhry sought on Friday a detailed report on the purported hijacking of an oil tanker by pirates near Somalia, with Pakistanis said to be among the hostages. A statement issued by the Ministry of Maritime Affairs referred to the reported incident, mentioning that the crew of the hijacked vessel was said to comprise 11 Pakistanis.
That the question hanging over Tehran since the opening's current war with the US and Israel is simple. Who is in charge? Formally, the answer is clear. Mojtaba Khamenei has assumed the role of supreme leader following the killing of his father, Ali Khamenei, on the first day of the war on 28 February. In the Islamic Republic system, that position is meant to be decisive. The leader has the final word on almost anything important: war, peace, and the state's strategic direction.
And the EU's anti-fraud office has begun a formal investigation into Lord Peter Mandelson, who was sacked as UK ambassador to the US over his ties to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Lord Mandelson served as European Trade Commissioner from 2004 to 2008. The European Commission asked the European Anti-Fraud Office, OLAF, 2 months ago to look into allegations of misconduct during that 4-year period. And when Hezbollah fired rockets at Israel on March Tavu, 2 days after Israel and the United States launched a war on Iran, the resulting Israeli operation to destroy the group quickly became a mission to flatten swathes of southern Lebanon. And as Israeli warplanes carried out airstrikes across the country, soldiers seized more territory in the south. Ground operations began to take on the appearance of those seen in Gaza, and bulldozers tearing down buildings and demolitions, razing whole villages to the ground.
That Ukraine has succeeded in depriving Russia of much of the windfall profits it would have made from oil exports during March and April, as the war in the Gulf sent prices soaring to above $100 a barrel, a series of sources suggest. That Ukraine intensified a long-range strike campaign against Russian port and energy infrastructure on March 21 in a calculated bid to prevent Russia from offloading oil onto tankers and to counteract the suspension of U.S. sanctions on Russian oil, that which had been in place since 2022. That overpriced Mac Minis are flooding eBay amid shortages of the sold-out machines, which have become a favored tool for running on-device AI models like OpenClaw this week. That reports indicated that the $599 M4 Mac Mini-based model with 16GB RAM and 256GB of storage is sold out on Apple's retail website, with no options for delivery or in-store pickup. That the shortages have since extended to other configurations of the base model, regardless of the amount of memory selected. This is the first time the base model has been sold out, some outlets noted. Meanwhile, that models with higher storage, 512GB and up, are only available to ship starting in June.
And customs authorities have revised the import values of glass tubing and glass ampoules used in the pharmaceutical sector, issuing a new valuation ruling to reflect updated pricing conditions. The Directorate General of Customs Valuation in Karachi announced the changes through valuation ruling the 2067 of 2026, covering imports from China and Europe.
That China's first pre-6G test network officially began operation on Tuesday in Nanjing, located in East China's Jiangsu province. The new network combines 6G technologies with an existing 5G framework and is designed to test next-generation communication capabilities.
And Iran's Foreign Minister Saeed Abbas Araghchi has confirmed today that he's embarking on a diplomatic tour of Islamabad, Muscat and Moscow. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, Araghchi said the purpose of his visits is to coordinate closely with partner countries on bilateral relations and hold consultations on key regional developments. And the US Justice Department is dropping its investigation into the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell over alleged building cost overruns. US Attorney Jeanine Pirro said instead there would be an internal investigation led by the central bank's Inspector General.
That for months, rumors and secrecy have surrounded last year's alleged Independence Day coup plot in Nigeria. But with this week's indictment of 6 people accused of involvement comes the first details of what is said to have been an elaborate plan to oust President Bola Tinubu. It was due to take place on the October 2025, the day Nigeria marked the 65th anniversary of its independence from the UK.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he has undergone successful treatment for early-stage prostate cancer after a small tumour was discovered during a routine checkup. The information was published on Friday in Netanyahu's annual medical report, with the Israeli leader posting on social media to explain that doctors discovered and treated the tumour during a medical checkup. The information was not announced at the time. And on April 20, the United States fired at and then seized an Iranian-flagged container ship close to the Strait of Hormuz in the northern Arabian Sea. Amid its blockade of Iranian ports, it was similar to a scene which played out in the 1980s during the so-called tanker war between Iran and Iraq, during which both countries fired on each other's tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, seeking to cripple each other's economies.